next time for the brand. Well, I was
Yes.
just going to talk about how I noticed my underwear had it was just holy. I'm not talking about touch, blessed by the Pope, but I was just like, this is what my mother always warned me about. This is when you as a
This
child
is
you see the
TMI. Yeah, this is TMI. Yeah, I get it. Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I just had that realization. So like I was saying, we're recording now. I wasn't gonna do a countdown. I had assumed you would figure out we would start literally recording. Then I would give you a countdown and we would start because I could edit that out. But welcome to this episode two of like Father Like Sons. This is the son kicking us off this week, Carter Fox, along with my father, the wonderful, the legendary, the iconic Glenn Fox. How you doing tonight, Dad? It's good to see you.
Yeah, hanging in. Thursday night, tired. End of the week. Uh, it is what it is. We'll get there, but it's the end of the week, so we should be tired and looking forward to the weekend. So here we go.
Any,
So how
any,
was your week, Carter?
Ooh, excuse me. My week has been good. It's been busy. I kind of, as we were talking about last week, I'm like a musician and a bunch of different things. And this week, and just as a project that I'm undertaking, I'm wearing a quote unquote CMO hat, I think is a way I like to wear it. A marketing executive style, but also taking action because when you do stuff, you got to be strategic and actionable. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. So I've been out of the home office and back from being on the road and right back into working and trying to help launch some brands and help some things happen in that world. So on top of rehearsals, on top of recording radio drops for radio stations in Australia and France and across the US and stuff like that. So as I'm trying to talk myself up and make myself happy, I see my dear old dad put on his old readers and popped open his work email because when you're doing stuff at a certain level, it never really stops. And to be honest, I'm very much similar. I could be looking. I actually right behind my camera right now. I have Meta and Google Ad and different strategic stuff, a Trello board open, things open. I'll probably take care of some stuff after this too. Because I've also, on top of all that, I've also been finishing another book, right? I've been, goodness, book seven, book eight, I guess. It's actually the second edition of Music Business Basics, the first one I put out. So, that's that's where I've been.
Busy, busy, busy. That's good. It sounds like you had a lot of things going on this week. A lot of plate spinning, a lot of whatever cliche you want to use, a lot of plate spinning, a lot of balls in the air, a lot of different things going on. So that's good. That's working hard. That's good.
Yeah. So I want to ask you something though, if you
Sure.
didn't mind. What actually, I'm going to preface it this way. We have done something very cool. We've put out a podcast. We put this together. We've done this thing. It's one episode out. It's on podcast. It's on Spotify. It's on iHeart. It's on a bunch of different places. Anywhere I can think of. It's on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel I made for us. Go find it, subscribe, follow us. I feel like this was something you came up with a while ago. I want to just say how do you feel? Let's talk about making the podcast and getting the episodes going and how you feel so far in the prod process.
Interesting and interested. It's, I don't know. You've done a lot of the work for it. You've done a lot of the backup. I was the one who said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we tried to do this and just talk to each other through this? There's a lot of things that we get, a lot of funny vignettes, a lot of sad vignettes too. I got one, excuse me, to talk about. Um, so it was interesting. I mean, we did the first one, and you never know how they're going to turn out. I've done a lot of speaking and speaking engagements through the years, on stage in front of audiences. You've done performances in in different locations, so that we've both been in front of audiences before. This is the first time, and I've done podcasts, but not like this, if you will. I've talked in a professional mode more than just, hey, how are you, and how was your week type of things to put together. And we'll do some of those professional things, I think, as we get going, and look for things to uh, bring to the audience, if you will. But I think this is exciting. I think it's something that's different. I think it's something that we're putting together, and we're learning as we go. I mean, I've listened to a lot of podcasts through the years, from various people, in all different areas, whether it's uh, entertainment, whether it's sports, or other people putting it together. And it's, if you make it interesting, people will listen. If you make it boring, nobody will show up. And so the idea is to make it interesting and try to come up with things that people will be interested in hearing. And I think that's the game. And if we do that a lot, we'll get this going well. If we don't, we'll end after a couple. But so far, I think I went back and I listened to the one we did, and it's always difficult. For people who do this, I think they understand that. For people who don't, you never know how these things are going to turn out, because they're obviously unscripted. We're not sitting here with scripts in front of us to come up with how we're presenting or what we're saying. I listened to some of the things, and I got some good pointers in listening to myself speak last week as to things I'm trying not to do and things that I'm trying to do more of, and go through it. But I think I'm glad we started it. I'm glad we are in the middle of it, and hopefully we have other people who are listening or who will be listening who will enjoy. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I sure took up a lot of time.
It did, and you know what you made the last little bit you said made me think of how much training and how good and talented my older brother is at speaking in these kind of things. Because as a broadcaster and a radio host and a journalist, and he, like I am in music and all and business and these like various things. Brent, I feel, is like that in what he in his field. He has a lot of, he can do pretty much, he's a chameleon. He can do so many different things, all in news and media and visual stuff and writing. But he doesn't say after every word like I do, like I almost just did right now. And I'm trying to get better because, like you said, you listen back and you hear and you learn. And I've had the pleasure of doing more podcasts like this, open forum style, in the last year and a half, with my books and some of the other stuff and the music, of course. Like doing radio stuff is not new, and different things, but still just having conversation, sitting down, making it entertaining is really a fun thing. So I think you did answer the question. I also had another random comment I wanted to make as I was.
Well, before, let me go back, but hold that thought one
No,
second, because
it's been here. It's going to stay here. I got to bring
okay,
it up.
because you said before I was looking at the phone, and doing work, and what have you through that. No, I wasn't. I was looking to put a timer on so we knew how long we were going and whatever. And as I opened it
Oh,
up and you started talking, you can tell what happens. I forgot what I was doing. So then in the middle of it, I came back and said, "Okay, I was putting the timer on," and finally did that. But it was pretty interesting that in the middle of that, I forgot why I went to my phone. Go ahead. Now it's your turn. What
that's
were you gonna?
real. That's so real. I do that all the time where I'm like, what am I? And that's why as soon as I have a thought, I have to write it down. Or what I even do, I used to just text it to myself and that was enough, but it's not anymore. Now I have to set an alarm in my phone to be like, do this. Make sure you do. Don't forget this. And I'll set four alarms because, that's the quick scroll, and that's hilarious. But and you made me want to just go talk about marketing science for a minute, where it's like, well, it takes 7 touch points, and people have the worst ADHD right now ever, where it's super quick, and that's why being attentive and capturing the scroll. But this hopefully would capture some ears, where I'm talking about. Right before I walked in here to record this, you texted me, "Hey, I'm here. I'm good. I'm ready to go." And I was like, "Cool. Give me a second." And I was just getting myself ready, putting my hair together. use the restroom, and I
I,
realized,
I was doing. I was putting my hair together too. So by the way, so
oh,
that's.
yeah, you want some of mine,
I was gonna wear one of your hats just to cover it up, but I didn't do it. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Next time for the brand. Well, I was
Yes.
just going to talk about how I noticed my underwear had it was just holy. I'm not talking about touch, blessed by the Pope, but I was just like, should I get rid of these underwear? And then I went to go look, and I did realize that the majority of my underwear either have a hole in them or are like shredded around. They're boxers, they're like little boxer briefs, shredded around the leg, and I'm like, it's time. It's time. Probably time to get new ones. This is what my mother always warned me about. This is when you as a
This
child
is
you see the.
TMI. Yeah, this is TMI. Yeah, I get it. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had that realization of I should probably get new underwear, Dad.
Okay. Amazon, I'm sure it carries. So you don't even have to leave the house. That's even better.
What a change. Don't even have to go to Kohl's.
No. I hate to switch a subject, but I want to go to a morbid subject before I forget. I think Mom may have told you that my cousin Joel passed away today. Joel was we I have a for on my mother's side I had 10 cousins. I was the youngest. He was one of the older ones in there, I guess, or in the middle. I'm not sure exactly where it was. Um, don't want to get into details other than because I don't know them, frankly. But just he was good guy, good person, good friend, funny, and we're gonna miss him. So um, just wanted to say that send his send condolences. If they see them, if they see this, then which I don't think, I'm not sure that they will at this point. This is too new and it's not anywhere. But just it saddened today to hear his passing.
I'm sorry to hear. Family is
Yeah,
real,
family,
you know.
family is real. So it's I don't know any of the details at this point. I don't know anything about it at this point. So I'm just all I heard was I got a call from one of my other cousins who told me that he had passed this afternoon. So but that's I wanted to pass that along to you so you knew and we'll take it. So enough of that subject. Unfortunate, but it's also part of life. So we'll keep going.
Keep going. We will keep it going. Now, I mean,
You almost look like you froze there. That was the problem.
I did. I know there was a brief pause, and I'm doing it
You
again.
froze again. You're freezing on stream. Yeah.
No, why? My internet I pay enough for.
Yes. Me
Uh,
too.
we pay enough for it.
I don't mean you. I mean me. I pay enough for mine, so it's either yours or mine, and I'm not sure which
It's
one.
probably mine because if it's I'm hosting and I have all these internet browsers and stuff up, and it's being crazy. Uh, yeah,
The so you want to hear? I don't know if you want to hear a couple other things from my week
I
because
do. That's
we
what I
had a
do.
crazy week. Um, Hold on one sec. Because while we don't have scripts, I do write things down, and these are I wanted to make sure of um, that I wrote them down. Continuing saga. Two things happened this week. I wanted to make sure I got out. My continuing saga of my 3:15 a.m. calls. I got another one this week. This time I was kind of awake at 3:15, and the phone went off again. I again did not pick it up, but again, it was coming from Los Angeles. And it was again, they were some tax service looking for me to call them back without a number, a name, or anything else. But I'm sure in thinking about it, somebody robo called a 12:15. It should have been a 12:15 LA or 3:15 AM, or I'm sorry, excuse me, a 3:15 Philadelphia PM, and they hit AM instead. So if I get it again, I think I'll call up and scream, or I won't call up and scream, but I'll simply uh, um, answer the call at that point and say, "Would you please stop calling this number? Take me off your list," and we'll go from there. But got another call this week. That was a lot of fun. We came in. It was good. The other thing that happened this week, and this is don't let this please when this happens to somebody else, nobody has a good experience. So this was Sunday. I walked into our powder room and was in there doing my business and was finished and flushed. And all of a sudden, instead of the water going down, it was coming up. Um, not a good thing when that happens, and you say, please stop before you get to the rim. And unfortunately, so I had a plunger, and I started the plunger, and I also, by the way, and this is something that I didn't realize, or you forget this happens. As I walked into the bathroom, I was hearing gurgling sounds, and I didn't know what they were or where they were coming from. But then I found out later what that meant. I'm now experienced in this. But the water was coming up. I got the plunger. I got it. I pushed it. I spent about an hour in exercise doing this, plunging the thing down, and it wasn't working well. And I'd go to flush again, and the water was still coming up and go through it. I went upstairs to try the other bathrooms, and I flushed, and they were going down. It was great. Except I realized as soon as I came downstairs to the first floor that in the basement, I heard we have a water alarm because we've had water in the basement before. And so when water hits the floor, the alarm goes off. And lo and behold, the alarm is going off. Why? Water was coming down through the pipes and it was in the floor. So don't do anything. Call the plumber. So we call the first plumber, who has been our plumber for 40 years. Good plumber, but didn't have Sunday hours. We can get you tomorrow morning. And that's great. That's not going to help. And again, I had not showered at that point. I was nice and grungy. I hate to get the real details, but that comes in a couple of minutes. Um, we uh, then called the second plumber, and luckily they had someone who could come, and I'll get to them in a minute. And basically, they said, I asked the question, well, can we use any of the water? And they said, we don't know. So we said, okay, fine. But they were going to come that day. They were going to come Sunday, which was great. Later in the afternoon or early evening, or mid evening, if you will. That was the hour times we have, and you know how these service people give you hour times. We'll be there between 12 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. Not quite that big, but it's a 4 hour window that was there. But they got there. So I again said, well, you know what? I got to try this. I went and I put the shower on and I said, I'm going to be really quick. And all of a sudden, your mom had come in and said, turn the water off. We started the flood going again in the basement, which was not a lot of water, but enough to be a pain. Um, Okay, turn the water off, nothing going on. And so this is about 1:30 Sunday afternoon. And Carter and you were coming up for dinner. So that was one of the reasons Mom was not home when this all started and came in. I got a good workout, I got to tell you. Plunging that thing in the toilet for an hour and a half, it was really, it was good. My arms hurt the next day. We So you're in there the afternoon, and the biggest thing you're worried about until the plumber comes, and you know the plumber is coming, but the plumber is 4, 5, 6 hours away. What do you do if you got to go to the bathroom and you know you can't flush the toilets because it's not there? Um,
And real quick, it's not the number one you're worried about. We know. Look, look, look. Let me paint a picture. Let me interject in this story just to say, because look, I live in the city, row homes, different stuff. That could be a different situation. Now I'm a little lucky. I got a back. I got yards. I can do what I got. Dad, you and mom, you got an awesome little plot in the burbs, nice little private-ish areas in the yard. So number one, I feel is okay. But my stress and when mom texted me, this is happening, come up, I'm like, oh great. My first thought was, what about that? Like, I'm like, what am I gonna do?
we had the answer.
McDonald's?
It's a McDonald's down the block. You go to the McDonald's. That's what we were going to do. So it was your mother essentially said, "Yeah, okay, I'll go to McDonald's." Could have gone to the neighbor, but her concern was I'm gonna have to stop and talk and whatever, and you're gonna go crazy looking for me to come back. And I said, that's a good idea. That's why jump in the car and go to McDonald's. Anyway, didn't happen. Wasn't that bad. Was okay. The plumber came, and I got to give these guys a lot of credit. They came by about 4 o'clock, and again, that was 2 hours earlier than they said they were going to come, and they could have come anytime and what have you. Again, our second plumber, our normal plumber, wasn't showing up until Monday. I don't know what we would have done had that happened. Carter, I think we were coming down to your house with packing up the dogs. Everybody's coming in. Here we go. If we
You
had to
guys
do
might
that,
as
but
well head it up to Binghamton or something. Yeah.
yeah, probably. Anyway, the plumber came. The first thing he did was he went outside to the little air pocket water air controller where water goes in on the front lawn. I don't know what do you call it. Took off the thing and said, "Yep, I know what the problem is." He said, "You're blocked. That's what you are. You, you needed the system needed to be flushed out." Um,
Get that system Taco Bell.
Look what I got to put up with. Uh, and so within the hour, he had it all cleaned out. It was clean as a whistle,
Just like Taco
uh,
Bell. Just
all ready to start over again. So that was the week. You know, we paid them, we tipped them. They did a great job. I'm so glad that that they were available. I'll use them again, not just in an emergency situation, as I said to your mother. And I thought that was great. I thought that worked well. So that was the week. Don't let that happen to you. It wasn't as good as the story you had when you were up in the Poconos at one point, and it was frozen pipes and backing up, and the water was brown coming through. At least this water wasn't brown.
that's what
Um,
I was like thinking too. I'm like, it's the worst when you have a situation like this, or if you're, you're at a rest stop or you're in an office. I was at a workspace and I was something happened and I was a little concerned. I'm like, oh, don't come back up. You don't want to see that happen. You know.
Especially if you don't have a plunger near.
Yeah, is that why the plunger was in the garbage can?
It was wet. I was wet. We didn't want to wet the floor any more than the floor had already gotten wet. I didn't tell your mother, but at one point the water did overflow in that bathroom, and there was and I had to find the paper towels very quickly and get the floor very quickly because I didn't want the water going into the basement.
So the real, well, that's a great concern. Real talk. Do you think mother's gonna listen to hear that actually happened and then be like, why didn't you tell me?
I didn't. Well, if she hears it and she finds that out, it's nothing happened. It was fine. I said it was a good story. I never let the truth get in the way of a good story. How's that?
Yeah, that's the right way to be.
There you go. All right, so that was my week. That was the things I had to take care of this week that worked through the system. Uh, I'm glad that I figured out, and I'm glad I was awake for the 3:15 call. But I think when it rings at 3:15, I kind of know what it is now, especially when it comes on and it announces it's coming from LA. If it's not one of the boys or somebody else looking for me for bail money, so that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's not that, or it's not Capitol Records being like, we're looking for the next star who
They're
plays
not going to find
bass.
it here. They're not going to find it here. Maybe there, but not here.
They're not gonna find it there. Until you're 30. How old are you? 30 next? Like, was this the X Factor? Nah, get out of here. This is
That doesn't work.
but that's why that experience is why I have my phone on silent the majority of the time. I'm talking 95, 98, 99% of the time, except for maybe like I call somebody and like you, like, hey, I'll text you when I'm ready. Turn the phone off silent so I know I get it and I can see it. I don't miss it. But I used to have someone I was doing a lot of work with who would just be calling me. I would be doing music stuff, be out late, and like they'd be calling me at 7 in the morning. Seven. I'm like, why are you calling me? Like, it's so early. It's too early. LA time even. It doesn't. It's less sense at all. And I just needed. I can always hear it. I don't know about you. I got good ears though. I have good ears.
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
on silent or do not disturb, but the vibration mode, and I'm sure it's like a lot of people hear it, right? Like if you hear it on TV, the sound they put in, I'm always like, oh, my phone, but I don't have
Yeah.
my phone on that.
Oh,
Though it,
I've heard that a lot on TV, and yeah, and my ears are the thing that really still works. My ears are the things that really work. Are my ears. I hear very well. I hear everything. Especially when somebody's whispering 50 feet away. I hear everything they say and what they're doing. Um, Interesting.
well, yeah, it's the good ear. It's where my ears must come from, right? My
That's it.
semi
That's
good.
it.
Though one time I had my phone on. I mean, not. I have missed calls and things many times. You always catch up. Things are. But remember the time where you and mom were trying to get me early in the morning? We had something going on with some family stuff,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
and you called and you were trying to get a hold of me because we had someone, and you were like someone with the airport, getting someone early in the morning. You didn't know what was going on, trying to tell people. So I'm asleep in my room. My phone's on silent. I wake up to, I don't know, 8 or 9 missed calls and a bunch of texts. When you wake up and you have 21 notifications from your parents, it's not 21 notifications in general, any BS or all your friends or whatever, group chat. It's your parents. All of a sudden, I had just flashed back to being 20 years old and having spent a little too much money while I was in college and not calling my parents in time and getting in big trouble. And some other stories that I'm sure we'll go into in other episodes of things. But I was like, oh no, what's going on? And I have a sleep mask when I took it off a little bit. I call immediately. I'm like, what's going on? Catch me out. Hey, can you do this? This is going on. Can you go pick up your cousin from the airport? Just tell me what time I gotta be there. Like, I'll do it. I'm 20 minutes away, 25 minutes. I'll get there. A lot closer than you guys are, which was the whole point of this. But the real funny part of it was you guys being like, we couldn't get you, and it was you, I think, specifically. We got home. I did this whole thing, and you were like, hey, we gotta talk. We gotta talk about.
It
And
was
it was
me.
dad. It was dad talk. It wasn't like it wasn't Papa. It was dad. Hey, it was father talk. He's like, hey, you're in trouble because I couldn't get you. And millennial me, and this is what Brent. I was just like, you can't yell at me for this. This is not my fault because everybody knows. So everyone listen. And if you don't know, listening to the podcast, you're about to learn something, especially if you have an iPhone. I'm actually not sure. Apparently, this is true for the other phones too, because my friends who are my age also know all this trick. If someone's in Do Not Disturb mode, so like you call them and it goes right to voicemail, and you call them, hang the phone up, call them back right away. Same phone number. Call them from the same phone right away. It should start ringing. It can start ringing. That's kind of a secret trick to get through Do Not Disturb on at least the iPhone. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, you can't yell at me. This is not my fault. You couldn't get a hold of me for 3 hours in this kind of situation. This is not my fault because all you had to do was do this. And he goes, or was it? Was it? Wait, hold on. I want to get this
It was
right. Was it?
mom. It was mom.
That's why I had to stop. 'Cause I didn't sound like
It
something you
was
said.
mom. It was
So I
mom.
go, you got to call me twice in a row. That's all you got to do. You'll get me. And mom goes, that's why I'm like, doesn't sound like a dad thing. This
It
was,
was mom.
I
It
love
was
mom.
mom.
I love my mommy so much.
Yeah.
Mom goes, we did call you 2 times in a row. Once from my phone, once from his phone. And I'm like, you can't, that's not twice in a row to make it work. That's one time from his phone, one time from your phone.
That's twice in a row.
So and now no matter what, so I'll be here in my office in my studio. I have music blasting, my computer's hooked in, I'm in the zone. My phone, I all of a sudden my do not disturb means nothing, and it just rings through my entire setup, and it's dad being like, "Oh hey Junior," like just
It
checking on
it
out.
it
It's
was
fine.
it was so crazy because, you tell that story. So what happened was I don't remember what it was relatively early, but it wasn't super relatively early because it was a flight coming in, probably 8:30 or 9 o'clock pickup. It was around 7 o'clock at this point. We try to get you earlier, and I was going to go. I had canceled a meeting. I was in the office. I had canceled the meeting, and I was going to drive down to the airport, pick her up, bring her back, and your cousin, and then go to the office afterwards. I'm driving and I'm somewhere. I don't remember where exactly I was, but my phone rings and it's mom saying, "Got Carter, found Carter. He's gonna pick her up, no problem. You can go to the office." When with that, I had to do a 180 turnaround, um, get on a different road, go in a different place because the my office is in a different direction than the airport. And I don't remember if I called you at that point. I figured I don't want to bother you at that point because you were doing us a favor. Obviously, you were doing it. But I said later, we got to figure this out. We can't be able to do this. And you said to me, yeah, you just call and then recall quickly, uh, right after one, and then it'll go to voicemail immediately, and then you hang up and you call back, and it'll ring through, and then you'll be able to get me, and it won't be a problem. It is there. You now know the trick, oldster. And that was, I think, what you said. You called me something else or another name. I don't remember. Granddad, I think, or something to really make me feel like, well, okay, I don't know the phones all that well, um, or the different signals. And phones and computers are much like your brain. You use about 10% of the potential of there, and that's one of the things that it is. You want to get through, you figured out how to do it. But I said, "I'll go. You don't have to go." And he said, "No, no, no. You were doing it at that point, and that was fine. And you were closer, obviously, than we are, and I was. But at the end of the day, we figured out two things. One is that you went to the airport and you were good at that and being able to do that. And two, we learned how to get you when we need to get you. So that's even better.
I honestly assumed you just knew that. You know what I mean? And,
No.
and I'll tell you why. Let me just tell you why, real quick, why I assume this, because it has nothing to do with you guys. It has something to do with a client of mine. And, I'm not gonna say who, but I have a client of mine who he's
Yeah.
older than you
Don't,
guys. He's definitely
don't
older than. And guess what? And my phone's on silent as a general thing. Focus and I, just so I can do better that way.
yeah.
He from day two, like as soon as he realized I had it on do not disturb, and I must have said like, yeah, I keep it on so I can focus sometimes. Like meetings, like, he rings through every time. He knows exactly how to get through every time, and that's why I assumed when this happened, you guys would knew too, because
Everybody knows.
and
Everybody knows.
my friend Steve, my bandmate Steve, didn't know this either because I told him this story. He's like, "Wow, oh, I didn't know that." Now, because he would complain to me, Carter, I think it's because we'd do recording sessions and he'd come down and he'd call me, Carter, I'm going to pick up some coffee or whatever for you. What do you want something? And he'd be calling and I wouldn't answer. And he'd start being like, dude, I feel like it's detrimental that you keep your phone on. I'm like, dude, all you gotta do is call twice. What are you talking about? My cousin in this story, I was telling her this story on the way home from the airport, right on the way back to the house,
Yeah.
and she laughed. She lost it too because she's like, "Of course, all you do is call twice." But that's just a feature thing. You don't know. There are tons of features on these phones that I don't know about. Like, I, I just learned you can take photos of the night sky with an iPhone pretty well if you got the right conditions. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Well, there are things on social media as you flip through where they say, "Oh, trick number X for your iPhone," or whatever it is, trick number 72 for your iPhone, and they tell you different things, and you promptly forget after they tell you because they go, you know, they give you 17 different steps in order to figure out how to do it, and I'm lost after the second one. So it's great stuff, and you know it's there, and you know how you can get this stuff. It's just difficult to maneuver through there and get to the place where you got to go and figure out what you want to do. Because, as I said earlier on, I picked up the phone to put on the timer so that I knew where we were. And as I was looking at it, I said, "Why did I pick up the phone?" and it came back to me quickly. So it's working, but you know, sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't.
Well, if you're listening to this on your phone or your computer and you don't remember what you're doing exactly, you should be liking and subscribing and following this podcast, like Father Like Sons, with me, Carter Fox, and my dad, Glenn Fox, and my occasional older brother guest appearance, and some other folks, uh, which is really a fun time.
Yeah, I think we'll get Brent on here in the next couple of these next within the next couple of these so that he can make a presence here. We'll get other people to interview on here to come through, and some things that will be of interest. I think it really will spark interest in the podcast and go through this. Some of these stories, again, are everyday life, but some of them are not. Some of them are unique. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yes,
That's what it's
sir.
about. Well, what do you think? Are we going to take it out here?
Yeah, let's take it out here. I think we're good. We'll end it now before we really end. And we'll end on a high note. So hit the high C, and then we will finish up and see everybody next time.